Welcome again to another segment of The Detroit You Don't Know. I'm Diane Griffin Lunda. Gives me great pleasure to share this portion where I introduce you to John Griffin. John D. Griffin. So who is John D. Griffin and why is he significant? Well, let me just share with this portion of the program why I'm sharing this about John D. Griffin. I am the daughter of John D. Griffin, which my father was originally from Greenville, South Carolina. He was born in December, the month of December in 1916. And it's very significant. The reason that I'm talking about it, and this is for individuals that have been told that they're not significant or they don't matter. This is a shout out to individuals that have created scenarios and developed programs or projects that have topics that address that people matter, no matter who they are. And I'm going to say this to share with you because a doctor affiliate of mine told me, saying to me that, well, in so many words, that, well, you don't really matter. You know, why focus on things that are not significant? And it just kind of when he said that to me, it was just kind of surprising that he would say that, but I didn't really allow it to bother me, but it allowed me to push me to again feature some more of the contents of my life, which I think is significant because it could help many different individuals that have not touched bases on different things about their life. Now, my father, again, John D. Griffin, he was born, again, I said, December 1916. Born and raised in Greenville, South Carolina. Now, his mother, whose name was Lila, she died giving birth to him. So he never really got to know his mother. And so he had a close association from birth to almost the age of 9 with his father, where his father worked for a Caucasian family in the South on their farm. His father was Negro Indian, and his father, he didn't have a long life with his father. His father died. He was told by the people that he worked for that his father had died. So, and when I was a little girl, and I asked my dad, just asking and getting information about my background, my roots, and where I came from, well, he said, well, I can't share a lot of details with you. I only can share with you what I know. But he said the people that my father worked for told me that my father passed away. And so he said, I really didn't know that my dad was sick. And he said, who could I question? Why was I even able to question? And I wasn't 9 years old. I was approaching my 9th birthday. So he said that, so he just lived a life kind of more or less raising himself, although he lived the Caucasian family that his father worked for. They allowed him to stay on that farm, and on that farm, at that particular time, he wasn't allowed to live in the house. It was kind of taboo at that particular time. Remember the time of the year that I said it was, what year it was 1916, so it was a lot of things that was taboo for African Americans, and at that particular time, they were called Negroes, and because African Americans had to graduate to being called after Negroes. I don't know. I don't know which category was first because I was very young, but we were addressed as colored people, and then Negro people, and then African Americans, and then now black people. But we're people. that's what, it's just simple as that. But anyway, what I'm saying about John Griffin, John DeWitt Griffin, was very significant because that's part of how I got here and how I became significant by the drive that my father had. Now, he didn't have much education, formal education. Again, I guess it was taboo. The reason they allowed where he stayed on that farm with those Caucasian family, he stayed in their shed and he worked for his, being able to maintain some type of residency and living on that farm with that family. So he worked for them. He stayed there till the age of 18, going on 19, and he only had third grade education up till his father had passed. And so they didn't, back then it wasn't significant for a child to, a black child, to go to school. So you just have to, again, if you do your history research around that time, the different things that the blacks, type of lifestyles that they had, if you didn't have privileges, and what they had to go through. So again, he left that farm when he was almost 19. He kind of hitchhiked on the way to from South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. He worked his way on up to North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, just to be more Pacific. And he worked for some various Caucasian families doing different odd jobs. Could you imagine, again, back then, not having education, and then it didn't really matter. You'd have to have some kind of affiliation and so forth if you had education. So he was able to, by the grace of God and guardian angels on his shoulder, to carry on through his life of working. One of the things that he shared with me as I was growing up, when I kind of pulled different things out of my dad, because that's how I learned different things about him and his lifestyle that he had as he was growing up. He said that in North Carolina before, because he landed up to Ohio from North Carolina, and but he said one of the last places that he worked in, because back then they were calling them masters, but one of the last places that he worked was this Caucasian man. He didn't get his pay. He worked for this man, he said, almost about a couple months, and the man was saving his money for it. He said that, don't worry, Johnny, I'm going to, that's what they called him for short, Johnny, because his name was John DeWitt Griffin. And a lot of people also called him, he had another name that called him J.D., the letters J and letter D. So they, in the South, the southern states, they had a lot of nicknames like that for individuals. But anyway, the man that he worked for, that they called Master still then, he said, well, Johnny, you just go on and do your work, work these long, hard hours, because he was supposed to be getting paid on the week, at the end of the week. So when the first end of the week, the man told him, don't worry, I'm saving your money, I'm putting it all up, you're going to have a big amount of money when I actually pay you. And so, and this, he told him this the second and the third and the fourth week, and my dad was saying, he said, as he was sharing the story with me about that, he said, oh boy, he said, this man is saving my money, he's just like a personal bank. And then about the one thing he learned how to count, he learned how to count money and count the days and so forth of the week, keep himself familiar with time, because he knew he was working a lot of hours, and so he was just thinking about the amount of money that he was going to actually have. So around the fifth week came about, and he's still, okay, and he's asking, he said, oh boy, I'm about ready, because he was planning to continue his travels. He's going to work his way up to Ohio. So when he's asking again, this was after the fifth week, because naturally, there's 4 weeks in a month.